Hi folks, I'm Gene McLoughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Old Bridge Outlook with Mayor Owen Henry. On this program, the mayor has an opportunity to talk to you about things taking place in the township and introduce you to people making things happen in the township. And so saying that, I'd like to introduce our guest today from the Old Bridge Police Department is the Acting Chief, Scott Gumprecht. Chief, welcome. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you, Gene.
And Mayor, good to see you as always.
Good to be seen, as they say, Gene.
As you
Thank
say,
you.
good to be seen, huh? Mayor, off the air, you were talking about a lot of good things happening. You want to just summarize
Sure,
it for folks?
Gene. We're in the middle of summer. A lot of good things are happening. The Cottrell Farm, if anybody driving by there, sees a lot of progress. We have the golf course. If anybody drives past the golf course, it really looks like a golf course now.
Yeah.
There's over 50 pieces of equipment out there on a daily basis, moving dirt. Anybody driving Route 34 in Amboy sees that the traffic light that we've been working for 27 years,
It's finally there.
is finally being constructed now. New pickleball courts at Mamino Park are installed. They're ready for play.
Good.
We have our pickleballers showing up early in the morning to play pickleball. It's a little hot now, so they have to be careful. We'll get to that
that's
later.
right. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that later. Our paving contractor is out and about in town. Phillips Drive, as everybody knows, was just completed. That was a big project.
Okay.
Went from Cottrell Road all the way to almost Route 9. The ShopRite project along Route 9 is moving.
Yeah, I
You'll
see
start
that's
seeing
moving,
some
yeah.
progress with that building. A lot of new businesses have came to town over since we last met, Gene. I've cut many ribbons on the weekends, and I have some coming up. So that's a good sign after COVID. People now are
coming back.
confident and feeling that they can invest now and open up the business and hopefully be profitable and make money and employ local employee, local township people for jobs.
So we're in
Yeah,
pretty
and
good
so
shape.
what a day is fast approaching,
Yeah.
as we all know. Our camps are all up full running here in Old Bridge, all our summer camps. And we'll start off the show, Gene. It's summertime, we're in the middle of it.
Right.
But it's so important, Gene, as we're going to talk about, that we enjoy summer, that we have a good time,
Right.
but that we be safe. Because summer is a time when, unfortunately, we do have tragedy.
We have problems,
And
I
we
know.
read about it surrounding towns. And let's try to not have that right here in Old Bridge.
Right. Okay, Mayor. Scott, you put together a great outline of some of the summertime activities, and we can start with the outside activities. What's the most dangerous outside activity that gets most people in trouble?
I think a lot of the dangerous is when you're working outside or you're doing recreation activities outside. You forget to drink, hydrate, drink water, take breaks if you are working, in the shade, and just know your body, know what's going on with yourself, and whether you're working or enjoying the outdoors. Just know what's going on around you and what's going on with you to make sure you're safe. And also, if you have children, look out for your little ones because they don't tell us enough that they're thirsty.
getting-
We got to
right.
make sure that we make them drink.
Okay, Chief, one thing, if you could maybe clarify for me. I've often wondered the difference between heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Can you just review that again?
So heat stroke is that's like it's an absolute life-threatening emergency.
Yeah.
That's get to the hospital as soon as you can. Heat exhaustion, your body is saying, hey, I'm getting a little worked up here. We need to take a break. Could turn into a life-threatening emergency, but you want to know the symptoms, know how you're feeling. If you're overly sweating, thirsty, you started muscle spasms, those type of symptoms that you're not yourself. You just want to make sure that you're drinking your fluids to prevent that from happening. But if you start feeling nauseous, lethargic, you start having muscle cramps that you don't normally get, overly or profusely sweating, that's heat exhaustion. Heat stroke is you just stop, you stop sweating. Your skin becomes clammy, and you're also nauseous. You can pass out. Life-threatening emergency. Call 911.
Really?
Get taken care of. If you're around somebody that they're experiencing either one of those, get them into a shade or into a cool spot. Try to cool their body down. Cool rags. Dump water on them.
Yeah.
Just try to cool the body down as quickly as you can. But in either case, make sure you know what's going on. Seek medical attention where appropriate.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you right now, we're having a good test of all this, aren't we, with the temperatures in the 90s, huh? And the people in England even have 104 degrees today in England, if you want to get hot and sweaty.
As Scott said, Gene, I mean, as we get older, things change. I feel
Yes.
the difference. As a kid, I could stay out in the sun and
Right.
run around all day. Now, as you get older, you really need to be careful. You feel it coming on quicker. And as Scott said, you have to be cognizant of the people around you. Look to notice, because a lot of times people don't want to react when they don't feel well. So if you see somebody in distress, go over and help them.
Okay. Chief, the other thing I see a lot of distressingly in the newspapers is the amount of children, babies that are left in infant seats in the back of the car. How does that happen?
That people are just so busy, they forget. They just, I'm just going to run in for a second to pick up a cup of coffee. And cars, I mean, we've all gotten a car in the middle of the summertime, how quickly they heat up.
Yes, sir.
And, these little ones, they're not as, prone, or let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
They're more susceptible to the heat, especially the rapid changes, because, you can be in your car 1 minute, have the air conditioner on, step out, go into the store, a few minutes later, you come back out, and your car's back at well over 100 degrees. It's like the greenhouse effect. All that heat is going into the car, it has no place to go, so it just sits in there.
And we lose a lot of babies that way.
We lose a lot of babies, a lot of young children. Some cases you might even leave elderly, like the mayor was saying. The elderly, just like little ones, are also susceptible to the heat. Not as prevalent, but it could happen. The older ones, obviously, they can roll down a window, open a door to do that. But the children who are locked in their car seats, they don't have that opportunity. So with that, if you're traveling with your children, just take a moment, look in the back seat. We were off air, and the mayor had mentioned most cars today, if you open your rear doors, you have a reminder when you shut off your car, check your rear seat, check for occupants.
They have a little alarm go off now.
Like a little beeper, and some of the displays will actually tell you that. Biggest thing is just, know what you're doing, always stay focused, concentrate on your children, because in the car, and like I said, 1 minute might be a minute too long.
Yeah, boy, that is scary.
Yeah, really Gene, we find people sometimes are distracted if they're out of their normal routine, like you're picking up a child for the first time, and you have a lot on your mind. You go to work and oh my God, we've read about that in the papers where they're out of their routine. It's not something they're used to doing, but as we said, the new cars have the alarms. And it's kind of annoying, but I always check to make sure my grandson's not in the back seat. But he lets me know he's back there anyway. So. And animals too, Gene. Please do not leave animals in the car.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't
even with the window open that much, it still gets hot inside.
The other thing I think, Chief, is checking in on the elderly and the infirm people. Many times low-income people, they don't have air conditioning, they don't know, and I think they need checking in on that.
Yeah, just check in on your neighbors, especially if they are elderly or they're ill. Make sure they're doing okay. Make sure they're drinking. And if it does become too bad, I know we in the township, we have different cooling stations, whether it's the senior center across the way from the building here or the library. Get them to a cool spot, like we're talking about heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Biggest thing is to try to keep them cool as much as we can. So always just check in on your friends and your families and your neighbors.
Well, I live in an active adult community now, and it's an issue there because we have a lot of elderly people there. Not myself, but other people. But they are always watching out for people there. Elderly people, many widows and widowers that are elderly in 80s, 90s in some cases. They're always checking on them.
Our Silver Lining Scene has a very active, where our Anna will check in on seniors if they don't show up one day, and they're constantly getting called to see them. I'm sure we get a lot of welfare checks where we need to go and if a family member calls and says, hey, I've been trying to reach out to my mother, my father, I haven't been able to contact them by phone. And a lot of times, if the air conditioning is broken, they don't want to fix it, or they don't want to use the air conditioning. A lot of times you get we'll put the fan on, we'll open the windows. How many times have we heard that? Well, when the humidity and the heat is up and it's a prolonged period of time and it doesn't get cool at nights, the house gets hotter, and it just gets hotter and hotter. So have to be careful.
Okay.
And a side effect to that too, Gene, if you're checking in on your neighbors and your friends, you're building your community. So it's always good to have your community looking out for each other.
Yeah, and that's what does happen, like in our community. People do religiously look out for everybody else. They really do. Okay, gentlemen, I think we have covered mostly the outside activities. We didn't mention sunscreen and sunglasses, but very important.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a big sunglass fan myself. I wear sunglasses the year round. I was told to do that years ago, and I still do. But same with sunscreen, particularly when
very important. Skin cancer, I think, is one of the leading causes.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a lesson on it. Okay. How about can we talk to water activities? Chief, if we can touch on those a little bit. Here we have, and I was going to bring up Lawrence Harbor. Is there swimming in Lawrence Harbor now?
We do not encourage
You
swimming in
don't
the harbor.
encourage Lawrence Harbor?
No, there's
How about Hooks Lake?
Hooks Lake, yes, at Cheesecake Park.
Cheesecake
Yes,
Park, yes, sir.
lifeguards monitored the quality of the water. Everything is in place there for swimming, and they do have a beach there. Yes, but the Lawrence Harbor beachfront, we do not encourage anyone going in that water.
But the thing seems to be today to swim in designated areas. Huh? My wife
Yes.
and I spend a lot of time at the shore, and you see a lot of kids out there without lifeguards or red flags, and they're still in the water. So what do we do about that? I mean, this is just peril waiting to happen, right?
Well, it's definitely peril waiting to happen. If we get called on people swimming,
Yes, sir.
we'll go down and have a talk with them. If there's children swimming and the adults are with them, the adults are responsible for their children. As the mayor said, we don't encourage, but everybody should be responsible for themselves. And if you have children, definitely be responsible for your children. If you're going to allow swimming, let's say down at the beachfront, make sure you have at least a cell phone, because God forbid something happens.
Yes, sir.
Be able to get on the phone, call, so we can get some resources out there to fix that problem as quickly as we can.
So you seem to see in the paper, too, a lot of young people drowning. What is the major cause of drowning, really, today? We just
I
saw
think
a
it's the
couple-
inability to swim.
I know,
And it's so
inability to swim,
important.
but-
At a young age, you teach your children how to swim.
Yeah.
It's probably the leading cause of death with young children is drowning.
Well, it's definitely one of them.
One of the leading causes. So, and that's something that could be avoided. And most kids will pick it up rather quickly. In 3 or 4 lessons, we call them fish.
Yeah.
They won't get out of the pool. So it's one of the most important things you can do as a parent or a guardian is teach your child, or the child
to
you're
swim.
responsible for, how to swim.
Okay, I think it's particularly important in homes with swimming pools as well. I mean, a lot of tragedies occur in swimming pools. Parents don't watch the kids toddle off, and they're in the pool. And they have a problem.
And it seems like every summer we read about a tragedy somewhere.
I know.
A
I know.
couple safety tips with that is if
Yes,
you have
sir.
a swimming pool, kind of keep the toys out of the pool where the children are looking to go get a toy. They fall in.
Good point.
Barriers around the pool themselves. And if you're going to, if your children are outside around the pool, make sure you're out there with them. You're not distracted. You're not on your phone or your tablet. You're actually actively watching
them, yeah.
your children. And if you have friends over, at least one of the adults should be actively watching the children. The other adults can do what they're doing, but somebody should be watching the children in and around the pool.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Folks, please stay with us. We're going to take a break right now. We're talking with Chief Scott Gumprecht of the Old Bridge Police Department. We're talking about summer safety tips. We're right in the heart of the summer season right now. We're taking a review of the important things you should know about. Please stay with us, and we'll be back in a moment.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans, who we are, what we miss, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Can the vaccines give you COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 from a vaccine. Why should I get vaccinated? Protecting yourself also helps protect the people around you. Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
Baby, you see, you're so right for me, and I'm right for you. I love the things you do, like sweet tasting wine. Your lips are so divine. Your loving turns me on. My lonely days are gone. That's why I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna let you go. No, no, never gonna let you go. Baby, never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Hi folks, welcome back to Old Bridge Outlook with Mayor Owen Henry. Today our special guest is the Acting Chief of Police from the Old Bridge Police Department, Scott Gumprecht. Officer, good to have you with us again.
Thanks, Gene.
You know, we were closing in on water activity. The one thing I think we overlooked, Mayor, and was Saltwater Day is
Saltwater Day is fast approaching. Yeah, it's a great annual event. It's back. You know, it was back last year, but in a modified, limited form. This year, it's back in full swing. So please, if anyone's interested, we're looking for vendors. We're looking for anybody who wants to participate, and of course, usually the public needs to come out and support the event. It's going to be a great day.
Just to review,
13th,
August 13th,
August
Saturday,
13th.
August 13th, folks, to come out for Saltwater Day. If we can move on to another topic, and that is moving around. And I think off the air we talked a little bit about biking safety and hiking safety. Chief, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Like we were talking about before, whether you're hiking in the woods, you know, you still got to worry about heat issues, heat illnesses. Even though you're under the canopy of the trees in some cases, you still have to hydrate. You still have to feel your body. You know what's going on. If you're overexerting, take a break. You know, slow down. But before you even go into the woods hiking, you want to leave a note or let somebody know where you're going to be, what routes you're looking to take while you're in the woods, and your estimated time of return. So that way, God forbid something happens, people at least have a general idea of where to start looking for you in the woods should something come up.
Good thought. Good idea. How about the biking today? You see a lot of people getting hit on bikes. What are they doing wrong?
I don't necessarily know if it's the bikers doing anything wrong. I think it's a combination of the bikers and the motorist not paying attention, not remembering the rules of the roads.
Yes,
as we said before, with leaving the children in the back car, becoming distracted, phone rings in the car, engaged in a conversation, going to and from work, a big meeting, you just become distracted, and you may not be looking for a pedestrian or a bicyclist, sharing the road with you, and you just say, okay, I'm just going to make my right turn here, and not realize that there's a pedestrian getting ready to step off the curb or a bicyclist traveling the same way you are. So I think a lot of it has to do with just not paying attention. And the same thing with the bicyclists.
Yes, sir.
They think they're on a bike, they'll weave in and out of stop traffic, and people just may not see them, or they cut across traffic when they shouldn't. So everybody just needs to be paying more attention to avoid these, and most of them are avoidable accidents, if we just pay attention.
And Gene, it's important that the bicyclists also take some responsibility. Make sure they wear their helmets.
Oh yeah.
And make sure they're find a safe route. You don't want people on Route 18 or Route 9 with bicycles. Scott, you ride with traffic with a bicycle? With traffic. Every once in a while, I'll see somebody coming against traffic, which I think is very dangerous. So the bicyclist needs to find a safe location and a safe route that he's comfortable with. And they're available, and they're more and more and more becoming available.
A lot of trails.
A lot of trails now. It's at the Hudson Trail. You can bike pretty
My wife
far.
and I have ridden that from Mattawan all the way down to the Highlands.
Right,
Down the Highlands. And they've paved that too. It used to be cinder. It used to be dirt, and it used to be covered with dirt, just cinder blow up in your tires, That's a great trail.
So with technology, now you can go out, you can find a good place to ride your bike. There's some places bicycles belong, and some places they don't. But as a motorist, you need to be responsible for your car or vehicle at all times.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, if we could for a moment, Chief, and I think it's probably a topic you could talk forever about, and that is teen driving.
Teen driving.
Teen driving. How are we doing with the kids these days? Are we training them properly? Are they?
I believe that what we do at the state level to get them prepared for the driver's license is a minimum. It's really the parents teaching their kids to drive, teaching them to not be distracted. I mean, how many times do we, go around and, whether it's dinner or the mall or whatever, these kids are just, constantly walking around, their heads down, they're on their phone, it's their life. So one of the biggest things, if we can get them to realize when they're driving, They have a vehicle. They're responsible for the vehicle. They're responsible for the passengers in the vehicle. Don't get distracted because your friends are texting you or they're telling you to go to YouTube and look at things like that. So I think the phone, you know, limiting the amount of phone in the car is a big thing. I mean, all the cars today, all the texts go through and you can control it pretty much from your steering wheel. You can hit the button, you can reply back with just your voice, just like, you know, your phone calls, you could do that. Keeping their eyes in their, you know, eyes on the road and their hands on the wheel is big. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing kids like to do is play the radio real loud, so they become distracted in the car, not even necessarily from the phone, but because of the radio. And just, you know, they need to be paying attention, be focused on the task at hand, which is driving safely, you know, looking out for their safety, their passengers, and everybody around them.
And the speeding and the tailgating.
Yeah, speeding and tailgating, I think that a lot of that comes from inexperience.
Yes.
A lot of it comes from, I'm in a rush, I have to get there now.
Right.
So they go over the speed limit. They're not experienced, so they may not be able to handle their car at higher speeds. The tailgating, again, inexperienced. They can't judge distances as well as more seasoned operators can. Biggest thing is just get there safely.
Yeah.
You know, slow down because you can't enjoy a party if you don't get there.
No, that's very true, I'll tell you. The thing is, I think that, as you said, they don't pay attention to the road enough. You know, I have teenagers now that just got their driver's license, my grandkids, and I'm very nervous about the whole thing, to be honest with you. You know, I've ridden with them, but it's still an issue. You know, the other thing is all the stuff that's in the cars. It seems more cars get broken into now. You can read more in the shopping centers, particularly adults too.
Yes.
Lose purses, lose phones, they lose GPS systems. I mean, there seems to be a lot more trouble like that around too.
I will all agree that new cars are a lot more complicated than the old cars were.
Well, I don't have to worry about that with old cars.
But you know, Gene, with driving, we've seen it. We've all witnessed to the aggressive driver, the driver that's in and out of lanes, and you know, or the person doing 45 in the left hand. They're just not good drivers.
Right.
And then we have to be defensive drivers, and I think we need more defensive drivers and people that are aware of the cars in front of them, behind them, to the side. Use your mirrors; they are there for a reason, to find out what's going on around you, and this way you have time to react. I'm on the roads. I see the horrible driving habits of some people.
Well, I agree with you. I have never seen such bad driving. I've been driving 50 years, and I have never seen such bad driving on the road due to distraction by the malls, the strip malls. You're coming along 40 miles an hour, and somebody will pull right up in front of you. Yeah. Like they're not looking at you, they don't see you.
And I'm sure Scott will attest, we're very busy
Oh,
trying to correct their bad behavior. Hundreds of summonses are issued.
We're out there aggressively educating, and sometimes the education is in the form of a motor vehicle summons. But we just want to make sure people are driving safely, they're paying attention. You're not the only person on the road. You know, just if you just pay attention, you focus, get to where you're going safely, you're well ahead of the game. And that's the important thing, is get there safely. So that's what we want them to do. You know, the other thing with these younger kids, I mean, with all these movies over the last few years, with the sports cars and the drag racing and the loud mufflers, this is just what a lot of these young people are into today. And, you know, we get a lot of complaints where people are saying, you know, they're speeding all times a day, and we'll be right there and we'll have a radar on them. They're not speeding, it's just the mufflers are so loud, or they've done different things to their car to enhance that. But we are, like the mayor said, we're actively out there educating the public, the motoring public, of safety. That's our main focus, is to make sure everybody's safe.
I know you have a tough job out there.
Yeah, because the results, Gene, we've been on many a scene where the results are just horrible.
I know, you see
when these
so
cars
many
at these high rates of
accidents.
speeds come to a sudden stop, it's not good. Not good for the car, and it's not good for the occupants.
Yeah, the single car accidents on these narrow roads, dark, too fast, and they inevitably hit trees or poles. They just never go off into the open space. And we had down by us recently, we had 3 kids killed in a traffic accident, young kids.
It seems like every weekend there's a tragedy in the
brutal.
paper.
To be a parent, to get that phone call, it's got to be absolutely brutal. You know, gentlemen, if we can switch gears a little bit, we talked a little bit off air. We may want to touch on block parties, Mayor.
Sure.
You had mentioned, tell us about block parties.
Block parties were very popular before COVID, and then of course with the gatherings they were stopped. Now they're coming back.
Yes, sir.
So we encourage people. That's such a great event to have in your community,
Right.
to have a block party. But you do have to apply for a permit, make sure that the public safety is taken care of, that we can still get emergency vehicles down the street, and just let us know what's going on. And this way the elected officials can come. I try to make all the block parties. I was just at one last Saturday. It was great. The food, I ate too much, of course. But it's great to see the neighbors all talking and having fun, and especially for the kids. There's always like water activities for the kids to do, and they have games.
Yeah.
Very great fun for the town. So we encourage people to have the block parties, but there's a little process you have to go through. And of course, after 10 o'clock, the block party.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you have to open up the
noise-
road and the noise.
ordinance?
We have our noise ordinance.
Correct.
right.
Is
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
But I encourage anyone who's interested in having a block party, you can call my office, and we can give how to get in touch with the clerk's office, handles that permit, and it's approved by the council. So
Oh, okay. Okay, good. And Chief, one other thing is these pop-up parties that seem to be incurring more frequency. What's with those? What do you do about them?
We go out there. We had one last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and we go out there. We enforce the local ordinances, the noise ordinance. Make sure that there's people there. If we see underage drinking, we'll take appropriate action. I know when we go out there, we want to make sure there's at least a parent home or the homeowner home. They're monitoring this.
Yes, sir.
That it's just not young people just showing up at somebody's house because Mary told Susie, who told John, who told Billy. And before you know, it's all over social media. And
Right.
what should have been a 10, 15 person party is 250 people
Right.
parking all over the streets on their neighbor's property, in the strip malls adjacent to where these properties are. So they're very popular amongst young people. They spread things out on social media. I mean, these kids today with social media, they are so far ahead of where I would ever love to be. I mean,
Yes, sir.
how they can manipulate the internet and all that stuff. So one text turns into 100 texts, and you have, like I said, 250 people show up at a party.
Wow.
But again, if the residents having a party and it's not violating any of the ordinances or any of the laws, please be respectful of your neighbors. Understand 10 p.m. That's when all the noise shuts off. And even the 10 p.m. is if there's noises so loud that it's creating such a disturbance for everybody in the neighborhood, we could shut you down well before 10 p.m. or have you turn it down.
Yeah.
Because it's not just your party, it's also your neighbor's
Right.
community as well.
Okay.
So everybody should enjoy that.
And parents really need to take responsibility based on the age of their child. Do not drop them off
Right.
at a pop-up
yeah.
party. That is just, you're looking for a disaster.
Right. Okay, gentlemen, Chief, off the air, we were talking about you perhaps making a closing comment on behalf of your profession.
I would absolutely love to, Gene. Thank you for that. If anybody's interested, the Old Bridge Police Department is actively recruiting police officers, Class 1 specials, Class 2 specials, and Class 3 specials, as well as auxiliary officers. It's tough to become a police officer in today's climate. It's still the best profession in the world. I wouldn't have survived 28 and a half years to date if I didn't enjoy coming to work and doing what I do. But if anybody's interested, please reach out to the Office of the Chief of Police here in Old Bridge. Submit resumes. We have applications for our specials. Please, apply. It's a great profession. The town's getting bigger. The department will get bigger in the long run, and we're actively recruiting people, men and women, to come join us. We'd love to have you.
And there's probably
Okay.
no better way, Gene, than to give back to the community than become a police
I was
officer.
going to say, I think it's
Because
a
you are
great
there
profession.
responding. We get a lot of calls.
We do.
So you have the ability to really make a difference.
Okay, well, Chief, thank you for being with us today. Stay safe out there yourself,
Thank
okay,
you, Chief.
as a police officer. And folks, this has been Old Bridge Outlook this time with Mayor Owen Henry and our guest, Chief Scott Gumprecht from the Old Bridge Police Department. Please stay tuned to Channel 15 at all times, and we'll see you next time on another Old Bridge program. Take care.